Welcome to the stage, everyone. Welcome, François, who is joining us this morning, afternoon, depending on where you're listening in the world. How are you doing today?
I'm really good and a bit tired, but it's okay. I was watching a ballet yesterday evening. It was really cool.
Oh,
So
nice. Which
a bit
which
tired,
ballet
but
was
cool.
it?
Hmm?
Which ballet was it?
Something modern, Lamenta. The name, the ballet is really modern. It's something mixed with Greekish music, Balkanic music, and so natural contemporary dance, but at the same time inspired with uh, traditional dances. And it was really powerful. You had really a lot of feelings, this pain, suffering of, because lamenta, it means there is a death. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, to lament
And
something, yeah.
but at the same time, you had some, how I can explain, some joy too, because people are meeting them, and you have the time, you have the peaceful acceptation. It was really powerful. uh, I like that.
Awesome. Great to hear. So today, what we're looking at is why do we podcast as musicians? And first of all, before opening up, I'm just gonna talk about what I'm doing because that affects the podcast itself. So basically, I'm preparing for several auditions in the coming months. So I'm definitely more on the regimented side of practicing stuff. And that begs the question: why on earth am I doing a podcast? As a performer. I mean, a lot of people do podcasts, but everyone has their own reasons. And I thought I'd just open up the subject to say why I do a podcast or podcasts every now and then. They haven't been that regular lately, but they're still fairly consistent every 2 weeks, I'd say. So, a couple of things. I'm going to focus on what it brings to me because there's certainly a reward sensation when you get it done, and I'll talk about that in more detail. And then there's also the aspect of what it does for me as a musician. And specifically, I think at times uh, when I get focused on something, practicing towards a project, I tend to go all in. And it's nice to sort of remind myself that there are other things that happen. There are other things that I need to have, not necessarily responsibilities, because, first and foremost on this podcast from the get go, I told Francois that I want this to be a fun thing and it can never feel like kind of homework or something that I need to do or have to do, but something that I want to do just because, for fun, really. So when I'm totally focused on my craft, on what I'm working on, I like to remind myself that, hey, there's other stuff. Even though I get really busy and it could be a little stressful to organize everything, I have to teach today, and I only have 30 minutes to do this. So it's a bit of a scheduling thing, but I like having different things in my life to make a nice big collage of experiences. So that's one of the reasons why. And I think it fulfills that role quite nicely since I began. It's just another different aspect of my life that goes that goes into play. And also the fun thing is that I like doing it with people. So sharing brings me to the next point is I like doing stuff in teams. I definitely am a team player. So working and just talking really with Francois or anyone who has come on the channel, I find it's a totally exciting experience because that's one of the greater parts of podcasting. I never really, for me, the podcast has to be a joint effort. It doesn't have to be, but it's more enjoyable for me. Like it has to be. I like having a conversation. So, anyways, that's sort of the start, and then maybe I'll bounce that off Francois and see what he thinks with the idea of sharing, collaborating, and adding some diversity in what you're doing, because we all have our main things and then we have our like side gigs, and I find this is kind of a nice area for me to work on different things. Open up maybe my horizons a little bit to new ideas with other people. And so yeah, what do you think of that, François?
Yes, many things, really many things. At first, why I began this project with you, at first for me it was really because I'm doing my coaching stuff. It was the the way of this podcast was not so far from what I'm doing, but it was not exactly the same. We had more freedom, or we could speak about personal development, management, music, um, without the stress. I don't like this word, but the stress I have for the rest I'm doing. You know, to have a real plan, really um, marketed, you know.
Yeah, no, of course.
Here is really something for fun between two friends who like to speak about music, management, personal development, stage, and pedagogy too. And we mix all this stuff in the idea of the music because it's what we do, you know. And first of all, it was really this idea. And after you said me, for me, it was really important to take care of our friend relationship, you know. Um, we because we are really far, and the best way to keep in touch is to have a kind of project together. And I love this idea. When you said that, I thought directly, wow, it's so good, it's so good idea. And since we are doing this project, okay, sometimes we speak a bit less. Last week, for example, we had not so much uh, discussion together, but in general, we are really connected now, even though we are not in the same place since 2 years. No, well,
Yeah, yeah.
am
It's
I
been
wrong?
two.
No,
No, no,
exactly.
2 years. 2 years. It's been 2 years.
Yeah,
Crazy.
uh,
Yeah.
and I feel that our how we say friendship, amitié,
Yeah. No,
is
friendship is
is
correct.
really is really strong, almost stronger than before. You know. So for second of all, I don't know if you say that like that.
Yeah. No, you can say. Yeah,
Secondary,
I think so. No,
uh,
no mistakes here on the channel.
this way. But now, after what we did, I can recognize now I have different motivation, really less on my in relation with my project, my first project coaching, but more we are speaking really often about pedagogy, and I'm music teacher too, and some um, what we developed in this podcast helped me a lot too. And it's really important to have different point of view, to take really the time to think about some little problems, uh, targeted problems, you know. Because with students, with pupils, sometimes you have this kind of problems, and if you never thought about these problems, it's more difficult to treat it. So I now it's the third thing I continue to do that because I find it really, really awesome, you know, for so much different aspect of my life and of my job.
Yeah. No, it definitely. It's been great to reconnect with Francois, and the fact that we've been doing it for a long time. Long enough is really a positive thing for both of us, and it's a way for us to keep ourselves motivated. I think too. There's always something that we talk about that after the podcast. I think both of us have said, "Oh, I thought about what we said, and it makes sense." Um, you know what I mean? Like that's happened to me very often, where after an episode, I'm thinking, "Oh, we talked about that. Maybe I should think about that or be open to
Yeah,
that."
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's we are doing both a bit philosophy about our lives too, and I think it's a good good thing to go further,
Yeah.
because we are
So,
trying to develop our knowledge about how to manage
yeah.
all all this difficulty in this world.
No, for sure. And the one thing that I was talking about accomplishing something, or the feeling of getting something done, I hinted that when I was opening, is also, in I think in the creative professions or artistic, again, I don't want to generalize here, but it's not something that you can see immediately. And the fact of publishing an episode is like a small win, and you kind of need those in life. And I think no matter what happens, if I'm able to do one episode a month or one episode every 2 months or whatever it is, it feels like, once it's up online, even though there are not so many listens and views, I mean, you're welcome to share and comment. But the good thing is that it generates momentum for me, I think, because, sometimes you work on a project and it doesn't really go according to plan, but then you have a small win, small victories. They're important. So when I wake up at 6 o'clock to do this podcast, uh, it may feel not like it's worth it, but then after, it makes sense in my head because I did something different and I managed to slot it in. The important thing for me, it can't be stressful, like François said. It can't be like we never make huge sacrifices to do this podcast. It's not a do or die thing, but in the end, it's a nice victory for me. I don't know if François, you feel the same way about getting an episode done.
Yeah, totally. It's it's a bit what you are saying, a bit sport. Sometimes you don't want to go to run, and after you are running, so you continue, and after that, when you came back home, you think, wow, it was cool, I did it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's a little victory. Another I can how can we call that, la traversée du désert, can you translate that?
When you cross the desert.
Yeah, but we call that in French, when you are doing something uh, and you don't see the results, these little
Okay,
steps,
okay, okay.
and you can't see any results, and you are thinking, wow, I'm working so hard and nothing happens, and you have suddenly this little victory. I can give you an example. During this summer, I was still working on my contents, YouTube videos and stuff, and not so much reactions, and I was a bit depressed. This word is a bit strong, but you understand.
Yeah.
And suddenly, I remember you sent me a text to say me, why you helped me so much with this, and I was really happy, and maybe 5 minutes after, no kidding, 5 minutes or maximal 10 minutes, it was crazy, I received a text SMS message, for a friend, a singer. She wrote me. I had no idea she was following me. She never liked anything. She never wrote a comment. Nothing. I had no idea she was watching. Sorry, my videos. No idea. And I received this text. François, I would to say you. I had a concert yesterday or 1 week ago, egal, and I had so much stress, and I don't know why. Suddenly, I see your head in my mind, saying blah 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 blah. I don't remember what was powerful for her at this moment, and I remember what I have to do to be relaxed and to enjoy my recital, or I don't know what
Performance.
she was
Yeah,
doing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she said me, and after it was really cool, and I had no more stress. Thank you, really, thank you. Go, go ahead, go further. You know what you are doing is really good. And you know, I was really in this traversée du désert. Yeah, you understand the
Yeah, desert
desert
crossing. Yeah,
cross.
yeah,
And I received that. I had some. I cried because it was so hard. And you know, sometimes you don't see, but suddenly you have little victory. It was really a little victory. It was not so big, but for me, it means so much, you know. So for example, it was just an example, but I think in this podcast we can have this kind of victory too. You don't know, you know, you don't know how tomorrow is.
yeah. No, for sure. So, there really isn't that much more to say on my end. I think, that's basically, it's really important in life. And I say this, and it's important for me as a person. I'm not saying it's important for everyone, but I've come to a point where I need small baby steps, and I need to see them happen for me to create sort of a bigger engine for me to plow through my daily tasks. Like practicing. It always starts quite small, and if someone out there is struggling to get stuff to happen, always try it at a smaller scale. Never try something. I mean, it's always very noble to start big projects, but the reality is, I mean, this isn't a big project by no means. We have no 10,000 followers there, but the great thing is that what it does for us as speakers, François and I, as friends, I think it's maybe something that can't be seen, but the reward feeling is great. And then there's also that, you can see it, you can go on the website, you can comment on it. It's a real thing that's tangible. You can calculate how many views you get, and blah blah blah. So we started it, and it was just a small project that brought us to where we are now. I don't know if definitely didn't make me richer. I don't know. Maybe Francois rich and he didn't tell me. Took all my money there. But
Man, you have no idea.
but what I'm saying is that it's important to sort of diversify your portfolio of skills. You need diverse skill set. It doesn't mean that you have to be a do it all, because I'm by no means a professional podcast here, but I just think the idea of sharing is a big one for me on the podcast. Sharing experiences, gaining some knowledge, generating momentum to move forward in a very creative and curious way. And I think as any person, you want to be able to constantly be curious. And what better way than to collaborate with different people from, we've had people from the States here, we've had people from different places in Europe, we've had places, here in Canada. And I just find you have to stay kind of that cliche statement, stay hungry. This is a great way for me to keep my antennas up and just know what's out there and have genuine discussions with, or just exchange ideas with people who come on the stage. And one of those people is Francois. So to come back here, what I was saying here is I don't really have much more to say in that. The podcast is something that I do. Maybe not we're talking why we do this podcast in particular, but I podcast for, I think we mentioned at the beginning, for a type of fulfillment. There's definitely an energy that's created when we exchange these ideas in this kind of way. And then there's this idea of opening up my mind when I have a creative conversation, or just a conversation. I don't know what a creative conversation is, but just like this idea of exchanging ideas and being open to different opinions, I think can bring us very far. So François, do you have anything to add on that?
Yes, I have not so much to say too, like you, but what I could say is actually, if you want to do something, of course, it's good to know why you want to do. But if it's something just more for fun than a job or than something professional, not so serious, it doesn't mean you don't have to do it seriously. This podcast, we try to do it seriously and to have fun at the same time. You know, it's really important for us. And
Yeah.
so if you want to do something, if you have a project for fun, just do it. Because if you don't do, maybe you will not learn some stuff. You know, when you do this podcast, like we do, we learn some new skills, and maybe for next job, even though it was just for fun now, maybe for another job one day it will be useful. So you have nothing to lose and everything to win. For example, when we are speaking, or Riccardo said, we learn some stuff about us, about new thinking, maybe pedagogy, and we had no idea about that. It was just at the beginning, yeah, we speak about the stage, how to manage the stage, and it's just the idea. So, okay, today the theme is really not in the stage way, but it was interesting to explain why we do that. And my conclusion is, if you want to do something for fun, if you have a project, I will plagia, or how you say plagia, this actor from Transformers. Do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, you regret the things that you didn't do. Very like
exactly.
you know. I always yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think I want just to punctuate. I don't know what you are saying. This you have some studies about what you are saying. At the end of the life, I don't remember, but the percentage of people are regretting what they haven't done because they thought all the time, yeah, it's not serious, or later, or when I will be at the renter or at the
retired.
or retire, sorry. And finally, at the end, they never did what they would, like, I don't know, travel around the world, try just play a musical instrument as amateur, for example, I don't know, or doing this podcast as amateur. And they never did, and they have regrets. The same for woman, love, I don't know, yeah, for everything.
Yeah.
So, and you have some study about that, is at the end of the life, when you ask to people what you regret, it's all the time what they never did. It's never what they did. Never.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so that brings us to a close. I think we've said just about everything we had to say with regards to why I podcast, or why we podcast, or why people podcast. And we will see you soon. And hopefully everyone is staying safe out there.
A real subject.
This was a real subject. There's a lot of like
but more in our always say expertise.
Yeah.
It is English word.
Expertise.
Expertise.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you, François, for contributing to this discussion. A lot of fun as usual, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.